going on, Jerome's? Happy St. Patty's Day. Toora-loora-loora. So speaking of cooking up some corned beef and cabbage, Kwesi has been absolutely cooking up the 2024 NFL Draft, making a deal with the Texans, getting the Vikings the ammunition needed to move on up potentially for their quarterback of the future. And yeah, to all the haters and the losers, woo, Kwesi's doing the damn thing. And it's almost like it took a couple of off seasons to clean up Rick Spielman's mess. Who knew? But ESPN's Matt Miller, Poobah over there on ESPN about the draft. And I respect Matt Miller because I remember Matt Miller was like on Bleacher Report. And then he got on ESPN. He's fantastic. Same with the guy Jordan Reed. 2024 NFL Draft takeaways from free agency, signings, and trades. It's been a wild week of NFL free agency, including big money signings, intriguing trades, draft, blah, 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 blah. But getting down to brass tacks, there's some considerable buzz about the Vikings moving to the top 5, which is fitting because it's St. Patty's Day weekend. So I feel like everyone has a considerable buzz. Also, I forgot who put out the joke, but it was so, it's tough to say, but the crooked Chicago Bears, it was very smart to announce the Justin Fields trade while everybody's drunk. It's great, man. So this is what Miller said about the Vikings. Watch for the trade-up talk to start circling Minnesota and Denver, but not really Denver. Matt Miller, with Cousins in Hotland and Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh, the Vikings 11 and Broncos 12 are trade-up candidates. There's considerable buzz about the Vikings trying to move into the top 5 to secure a quarterback such as McCarthy or potentially May Daniels if either falls past New England. Friday saw the Vikings make a move to add an additional first-round selection, 23 from the Texans, in exchange for a 2024 second and 6 rounds picks plus a 2025 second rounder with 2 first-round picks. The Vikings now own the draft capital to fly up the board for a quarterback. The latest league-wide rumor has the Vikings traded to number 4 overall, where the Cardinals are in a sweet spot to trade out with a quarterback-needy team. Now, I don't know, man. So we said before, I feel like Arizona could stay put because, yes, it's a deep wide receiver and offensive tackle class, but they have their choice. I mean, is it close for them between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors? Maybe. But would you be willing to risk it for the biscuit and move down that far and maybe miss out on the big 3 receivers and maybe even offensive tackles? Who knows? Or, I mean, there has been a lot of buzz around the Cardinals, so who knows at that point? But for the Vikings, I feel like it's 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And I know a lot of people tie the Vikings with 5, but I don't know. Would Harbaugh put the kibosh on the Vikings trading to 5? Just go to the GM and is like, hey, we're not doing this because the Vikings potentially could be trading up to 5. The team that teased him 2 years ago to draft basically his son, J.J. McCarthy. I don't know. Maybe he'll veto that. But I think it is 2, 3, 4 because 5. If they trade up to 5, it's got to be during the draft because if you trade up to 5 now, the Giants could move heaven and earth to try and leapfrog you. And if the point is to get one of the big 4 quarterbacks, and if you're equally cool with May, Daniels, or McCarthy, I mean, that's the point. So if you trade up now, move up to 2, 3, 4. If you trade up to 5, it has to be draft night because otherwise the Giants could leapfrog you. And again, that would be what would the Vikings do? So say it's quarterback at 1, Williams, QB at 2, QB at 3, and then the Vikings are at 5, and the Giants trade up to 4 with the Cardinals, which a drop to 4 to 6 ain't that bad because if it's QB in the top 4, chances are they can still land their wide receiver or tackle because whoever ends up at number 5 can't take both. So then, what would the Vikings do? I don't know, man. But I don't think that Kwesi would box himself in like that. I think at minimum, if the Vikings make a move now, it's either 2 or 3. Maybe it's 4. Maybe it's 4 if they can swing a sweetheart deal with the Cardinals that probably doesn't include the future first-round pick, which I think that a trade up to 2 or 3 would have to include. I think that's the line of demarcation right now. And like we said, it certainly could be a spot where the Vikings are equal with May, Daniels, or McCarthy. Or maybe not perfectly equal, but they could live with either one of the 4 falling into their lap at the number 4 pick. So that's a possibility. Or, I don't know, just conspiracy theory-wise, I mean, obviously the Bears are not going to trade 1 now. And they probably wouldn't have traded 1 in division if Justin Fields was their guy. 2, so Adam Peters, the new GM of the Commies, the selection committee was spearheaded by Rick Spielman. So maybe there's a quid pro quo. It's like Pretty Rick is like, hey, Adam Peters, don't trade my former team the number 2 overall pick because screw him. That is part of you getting the job. And 3, the Patriots, their new de facto GM is Elliot Wolf, and his pops, back in the day, Ron Wolf was a longtime GM of the Packers, so maybe he's just like, no, screw that purple team. He probably grew up hating on, I don't know, Warren Moon, Chris Carter and stuff. And 4 Cardinals, Monty Ossenfort. So maybe Monty, oi, 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 will help out the Vikings because he was a former quarterback at the University of Minnesota, Morris, which how did they even have a football team? Morris has like 500 people in that town. Doesn't matter. But, yeah, I mean, it is interesting to see that a lot of the insiders, there is a lot of buzz amongst the Vikings moving up. Now, this isn't just your media being media. Again, I always respect these draft insiders, especially guys like Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, former scouts who do have those connections still in the industry. And I'm sure the Miller's got his connections too. So I think that not only is it just the talking heads talking about it, but it's the scouts, it's the executives, it's potentially even some GMs talking about the Vikings moving up. Because, again, how can you not talk about it? The Vikings acquiring that second first-round pick in the top 2/3 of the, well, yeah, in the top 2/3 of the draft, and now they're going for that pin. And I know that people are mad. It's like, well, no, the Vikings are telegraphing that they want a quarterback. Everyone knew. Even before the Sam Darnold signing, after they lost Kirk, everyone and their mom knew that the Vikings were in a quarterback. Also going back to last year with them potentially looking to trade up for Anthony Richardson, but Richardson going top 4, and the Vikings were at 23. So, yeah, it didn't quite work out. Yeah, but the Vikings, they're in a good spot. And I can't wait to see what Kwesi does going forward. And, yes, maybe it's a little bit frustrating that the deal hasn't gotten done now. But like we pointed out, is it a spot where maybe Kwesi's weighing his options too? Maybe there's various costs at moving to 2 to 3 to 4. And they're trying to weigh things out. It's like, hey, it would be nice to have our choice. Like we said, even if it's close between May, Daniels, and McCarthy, it'd be nice to have the choice of the 3 of them at 2, or 2 out of the 3 of them at 3, as opposed to just taking whoever is left at 4. So I think that's could be what could be being weighed out right now. But it's a good time. It's an exciting time. Like, I think that you would have to be the most staunch Kwesi hater, and maybe even Vikings hater, and maybe even self-loathing hater to not be excited about the process right now. Because the Vikings, they're going to be a young team. They're going to get their quarterback of the future, and we're going to rally up and play some damn good football. And also, hopefully, extend Justin Jefferson. That's all. That's all, man. But your thoughts are thoughts. ESPN's Matt Miller says there's considerable buzz about the Vikings trading into the top 5. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. You know what to do on this beautiful Sunday. Skol, production value.